Baba Tilka Majhi, the first freedom fighter of India. Baba Tilka Majhi was the first Adivasi leader who took up arms against the British in the year 1784, around 70 years before Mangal Pandey. He organized the Adivasis to form an armed group to fight against the resource grabbing and exploitation of the British. Tilka Majhi was born on 11th February 1750 in Sultanganj, Bihar. He was born in a small village called Tilakpur and he belonged to a Shanthal family. His father's name was Sundar Murmu. Since childhood, Tilka lived in the shadow of the forest civilization and hunted wild animals. Wrestling, climbing on the big trees, walking in the valleys, playing with wild animals, roaming in wild forests and rivers, etc., were his daily routine of life. Wildlife had made him fearless and brave. Since childhood, he has seen the tyranny of the English people on his family and on the tribal people. English rulers had their rights on the poor tribes' cultivated land and wild trees. Tribal people, children, women, old men were greatly tortured by the British. Sardar inhabited their lands on the hill and they too fought with the English government to protect their lands. The mountains were inhabited by the landlords and they used to keep the British people happy in return for money. Finally, the day came when Tilka started a rebellion against the British. The tribal warriors led by Tilka were heading towards the forest areas of Bhagalpur and Sultanganj. Tilka with his force was in constant conflict with the English government. Cleveland and Sir Eyre pitched battles with the brave Tilka's army. While the British troops headed for combat, Tilka's soldiers began to secretly hit arrows on the English army. Tilka climbed a palm tree. At the same time, Cleveland came climbing on a horse. At that very moment, Tilka killed Superintendent Cleveland on January 13, 1784 with his arrows. After the news of the death of Cleveland, English government grew shaky. Rulers, soldiers and officers were enveloped in an atmosphere of fear. One night when Tilka and his revolutionary partners were at a celebration of dance, songs and were lost in exultation, then suddenly a traitor warlord, Jauda, attacked the Santhal army. In this sudden invasion, Tilka survived, but many soldiers were martyred. Some were imprisoned even. Tilka fled from there and took refuge in the mountainous region of Sultanganj. English army laid a trap for him in the surrounding mountain areas of Sultanganj and Bhagalpur. The heroic Tilka and his army, now camouflaged, they were hiding in mountainous areas, had struggled a hard life. His army began to be killed by a lack of food and thus starvation. Now the heroic captain and his troops fought a guerrilla war with the British. The English army was invaded by the Santhal tribes. Majhi got trapped by the Britishers during the war and they captured him. In 1785, Tilka was killed by hanging him in a banyan tree. Tilka was the first person who fought against the British to free India from slavery, which after 90 years broke again as a struggle for independence in 1857. In the memory of Tilka, a statue of him was erected in the court of Bhagalpur. Tilka will always be remembered eternally as a son of Mother India.